The lecture is about today's business process landscape versus today's enterprise IT landscape. At the end of the lecture, we should be able to answer the following questions. What typical classes of IT systems do we have in today's organizations? What kind of processes, activities, and management efforts do we have in today's organizations? Which kind of IT applications do support which kind of processes and activities? And why is IT crucial for today's organizations? And how does IT help organizations to become excellent organizations? For the purpose of these lectures, we use as synonyms business, enterprise, and organization. You know, we want to talk about organizations in general, but it's just natural to speak about business processes and enterprise IT. These are the most common terminologies. In the future, we will see a completely new quality of IT that supports the value-adding processes in modern organizations by the systematic integration of business process technology, knowledge management technology, and social software. In excellent organizations, all the value-adding processes, both the formal and strictly organized, as well as the informal and social, are subject to management and IT support. We want to distinguish between two dimensions of management. The first and vertical dimension is what we call the management levels, which distinguishes between strategy, tactics, and operations. The second and horizontal dimension is what we call the management fields, which distinguishes between business process management, knowledge management, and project management. It is important to understand the huge potential of systematic integration of these fields and levels. Many important IT initiatives in the past aimed at overcoming information and control flow barriers between these management fields and levels. The distinction between these two dimensions of management is not meant as a management theory or organizational taxonomy. It should just serve as a framework for our discussion. We want to discuss concrete existing technologies against the background of the lattice formed by these two dimensions. We can distinguish between strategy, tactics, and operations. The strategic level can be associated with top management and the tactical level with middle management. The strategic level is the executive level. It is about the business model and the long-term business goals. Tactics is about the implementation of the business strategy. It is about organization and development of the organization's workforces, people management, high-level coordination and high-level control of the work. The operational level is about the daily activities that directly create the products and services and the direct administrative tasks that keep the organization running. In our simplified model, there are two mainstream directions of information flow and control in organizations. Now, let us have a look at business process management. Business process management is more than work organization or coordination of work activities. If done correct, it spawns and orchestrates steering and operating activities at the several levels of the organization. It recursively defines, controls, and adjusts performance indicators across the several hierarchical levels. It formalizes processes and at the same time makes them transparent. Not all the processes in an organization are equally amenable for such formalization. Eventually, business process management controls those processes in an organization that can be understood and defined as a net of activities. A process-oriented organization, as much of the activity as possible, is recursively defined in a cascade of processes. The definition of a process must not necessarily mean that the process is shaped step by step, for example, modeled with one of the available business process modeling languages. It just means, in particular at the higher levels, that the process obtains a sufficiently accurate description and that appropriate key performance indicators are identified and set. Key performance indicators are appropriate if they are sufficient to control and monitor the considered process. Identifying appropriate key performance indicators is an art in its own right, and often it is even impossible to understand and control a process only in terms of key performance indicators. The processes that can be actually described by a business process model can be typically found at the level of daily operations. A process that is strictly describable is typically well understood with respect to its main case and all its special cases, is done over and over again in the same or at least similar way. Those activities that occur only occasionally and must often or always react to unforeseen circumstances might not be good candidates for business process modeling and business process management. The same is with highly creative tasks. Now, let us have a look at knowledge management. Organizations are made of human beings. As such, they are social networks and subject to social investigation and social efforts. We have four major, well-established, I would say North Atlantic schools of management, which are the classic scientific management, then later the humans relation-oriented management, operation research, and management cybernetics. The explicit orientation towards social aspects already started as early as with the human relations-oriented management. A human relations-oriented approach to management looks at the individual in its role and wants to improve the organization to develop the individuals to their best according to their potential. Knowledge management goes even beyond that. It enriches the aforementioned so-called North Atlantic schools of management with a new systematic viewpoint that focuses on the knowledge-creating and transforming processes in organizations. We can assume that in all successful organizations, independent from the concrete organizational culture, there is an absolute awareness that know-how and knowledge are core assets and mission critical. However, I would say, North Pacific School of Knowledge Management approaches the emergence of knowledge in a different way, somehow smarter, somehow more fundamental, and somehow more systematically. It understands and cares for the social processes around knowledge creation and knowledge maintenance better, or at least more explicit. For example, compared to business process management, it approaches knowledge less technocratic. Business process management usually does not even mention challenges in coping with knowledge, not as a driving force, and even less as a rationale. This is very interesting, because the problem of coping and dealing with knowledge are actually a major motivation for business process management. Knowledge of how things are done in an organization embodies power. Making explicit the way the things are done causes a power shift towards management. Describing processes more and more precise ends up in prescribing processes more and more in the long run, which means that business process management causes a power shift towards management. The approach of knowledge management is different. It explicitly cares for social categories like group dynamic and organizational culture. For example, it tries to understand the way individuals are taught by groups, how knowledge can be improved, and how improved knowledge can be brought back to groups. It aims at fostering the positive processes that improve and spread out knowledge in an organization. Therefore, knowledge management is particularly suitable for those informal, problem-solving, and highly creative processes that might be hard to improve with classic business process management approaches. Now, let us have a look at project management. Project and project work is different from operations. In the PMBOK, the project management body of knowledge, projects are defined via a comparison to operations. It is said, operations and projects differ primarily in that operations are ongoing and repetitive, while projects are temporary and unique. That's the definition in the PMBOK. Whereas this definition is easy and intuitive, it is not completely correct and does not really grasp the essence of project work. Projects are limited in time and budget. So much is true. Of course, the single project is unique, but so is also the single process instance in operations. In operations, we usually deal with repetitive process instances, but projects are also repetitive. In organization, often the same kind of project is repeated over and over again. So, often projects are actually not unique. However, you would not stop to refer to these projects simply as projects. So, what is the difference between operations and projects? It seems to be determined by the kind of work done in a project. Projects seem to occur rather at the tactical and strategic level. But this statement is not suitable as a definition. Projects occur rather occasionally, demand-driven. Again, this statement is not suitable as a definition. There are organizations that are really project-based, and projects may be sold as part of the business model. Internally, a crucial amount of the work can be done in the form of projects. The more repetitive projects are in organizations, the more they become subject to standardization. Project guidelines and project manager handbooks are elaborated. Project managers are trained and certified. The more projects are standardized, the more similar they become to processes. Repeatability of projects can be seen as a basic criterion for the maturity of a project-based organization. Perhaps the best attempt to characterize projects is via the management efforts. Then, a project encapsulates such kind of work that is amenable to project management techniques. For example, each project has a project manager, and large projects also have a project director, a project steering committee, and so on. It is confusing and at the same time promising. Projects are process-like. The knowledge about best project practices is a core asset in an organization. On the one hand, the difference between the process management world, the knowledge management world, and the project management world must not be neglected. It is necessary to understand the special characteristics of each of these domains. On the other hand, there is a huge potential for integration, both conceptually and technologically. Now, let us review important IT approaches and technologies in the light of our discussed management levels and fields. There are different styles of work in an organization. There are different tasks and challenges in an organization that can be addressed appropriately only with different approaches to work organization, different mentality, and different mode. Similarly, there are several kinds of technologies to support work in an organization. An ultimate goal would be to clearly understand the differences and the commonalities of the different styles of work and their supporting technologies. Let us review important, widespread classes of technology, how they emerged and how they are used in today's organizations. First, let us have a look at enterprise resource planning systems. A well-known enterprise resource planning product is SAP, SAP. But there are many other, in particular, domain-specific products. Often, ERP systems are developed individually for an organization, either by an in-house software development department or by a third-party software house. Enterprise resource planning systems implement software support for both the daily administrative and productive processes, as well as for tactical and strategic activities. However, the focus is rather on the daily operation and its control by the middle management. Enterprise resource planning systems maintain the master data, the transactional data, and the inventory data of an organization. The master data represent the long-term core data of the organization. The transaction data stems from the daily operations. The transaction data can be considered temporary. It is aggregated over time to inventory data. The dialogues of an ERP system directly control the formal processes of an organization. Reports that are generated by an ERP system support the middle management in their planning activities and the control of the daily operation over mid-term time periods. More aggregated reports of an ERP system help the top management in strategic planning. However, strategic planning often requires better analytic capabilities and highly sophisticated reporting capabilities than basic decision support features, which are the so-called business intelligence features that encompass data warehousing and data mining. Such features also ship with today's ERP products. However, they are considered extra features beyond the usual reporting capabilities of the basic ERP system product. Now, let us have a look at decision support and business intelligence technology. Basic decision support is already provided by enterprise resource planning systems. The need for sophisticated analytical capabilities as required by strategic planning is provided by the family of business intelligence products with data marts, data warehouses, and data mining technologies. The need for high-level decision support and business intelligence at the strategic level can be understood rather from a business process management perspective than a knowledge management perspective. High-level decision support corresponds to the corporate governance responsibility of the executive level. The information provided by decision support systems is at the top of the information pyramid of the organization. It is at the top of the knowledge pyramid. However, knowledge management is about systematically fostering knowledge creation and knowledge distribution at all levels of the organization. It is about the knowledge creating and transforming processes. In organizations that have established a robust knowledge management system, the business process management system can profit from the knowledge management technologies as information sources. But as with all systems that feed the decision support processes and technologies, this does not come for free. Appropriate extractions and transitions must be designed and implemented. Similarly, a decision support system that has been designed to support the strategic planning of an organization cannot be automatically considered as a knowledge management technology. It supports the knowledge workers at the strategic levels, but it does not foster knowledge management as a cross-cutting, holistic function of the organization. Nevertheless, the decision support systems of an organization embody important aggregated information and therefore should not be overlooked in each serious knowledge management initiative. Let us have a look at enterprise content management. Enterprise content management systems, like Microsoft SharePoint, form center pillars of information infrastructures in today's organizations. With enterprise content management systems, you gather and maintain those data that emerges outside the control of enterprise resource planning systems. If you have established concrete guidelines and rules that enforce the usage of an enterprise content management system for the storage and exchange of information, this can prevent the rank growth of information in your organization. Therefore, enterprise content management systems are important for work done in projects. They are the right tool to streamline efforts in daily office work outside the regulated and formalized processes. For example, correspondence with customers and other stakeholders in the context of your organization. The features of enterprise content management systems, which are document versioning and access right control, are basic, crucial supporting features for each knowledge management initiative. We will discuss enterprise content management systems further and how they relate to social software later, when we explain the uses of social software features in enterprises. Let me talk about computer-supported collaborative work and office automation. Computer-supportive collaborative work, CSCW, is a rather loose term that in general denotes a quite large class of software applications. In the past, the CSCW community considered all kind of software that somehow supports people to cooperate in the organization. With such a broad definition of CSCW, also workflow management systems, enterprise content management, and of course also today's social software systems belong to the class of CSCW systems. For our discussion here, we are interested in CSCW tools in a narrower sense, which means in such system that simulate some human interaction and communication that exists also otherwise in the real world, which are email, chat and IT-based video conferencing. Email can also be considered an office automation tool. And the class of office automation software consists of those tools that support individuals in an end-user-friendly way to create and maintain documents of today's typical office tasks. The most typical office automation tools are document editors with rich formatting capabilities, slideshow tools, spreadsheet application, and desktop databases. Also, lightweight single-user project management tools belong to the class of office automation. Imagine an organization without email infrastructure and without office automation tools. This seems simply impossible. Small organizations often need no more IT support but office automation tools. In large organizations, the massive need and use of email and office automation tools stands for the work that is done in informal processes or informal extensions to formal processes. Even in large organizations, it is very common to have no explicit software support for projects. Formal, heavyweight multi-user project planning tools are not the rule. Rather, project work is often supported only by office management tools. Actually, usually supported and streamlined by an appropriate enterprise content management system. Let me talk about the usage of social software features in organizations. Social software forms a relatively new class of IT application. It is an interesting question for which functions of an organization the features of social software can be exploited. We think that there are three fields. First, the problem-solving processes, such that can be typically found in project-based activities, creative tasks at all levels of the enterprise. For example, the adjustment of the enterprise's product portfolio, research and development activities, or the continuous improvement of daily operations. Second, the knowledge-creating and transforming processes, such that foster the generation and distribution of new and established knowledge, which are those that are subject to what is known as knowledge management. These knowledge-creating, transforming processes are hard to distinguish from the aforementioned problem-solving processes. However, they are more pervasive and fundamental. It could be said that the problem-solving processes form the core or are subject to the knowledge-creating and transforming processes. Third, the social processes, or genuine social processes, that have a rather indirect impact onto the value-adding processes. For example, such that are related to human relationships in their own right. Social software is actually used in organizations to support problem-solving and knowledge-creating processes, whereas it is not really clear whether and how to use it for genuine social processes, the field from which social software got its name from. Similarly, it seems that some of the features of today's social software would be typically considered as genuine social software features, whereas others would be rather considered features for computer-supported collaborative work. For example, you would tend to classify support for social networking as found in platforms like Facebook or Crossing as a social software feature per se, and support for collaborative editing of documents as computer-supported collaborative work. Let us have a closer look at social networking first. The purpose of typical social networking platforms is to bring together people with the same interests, problems, needs, questions, and so on. In a way, it is about virtualization of human relationships. Old friends from the real world can be refound and new friendships can arise. The sociology of such virtual human relationships is special and an interesting subject to research in its own right. Now, for a CIO, the benefit of establishing a social networking platform might be not immediately clear. You could argue that a social networking platform can be used in an organization to contribute to a good working atmosphere. But as a successful CIO is oriented towards benchmarking, he would ask, are there positive examples for this, and how should this actually work? Are there also risks in the introduction of a social networking platform? However, if you are not convinced to use a virtual social network for its intended purpose, which means social networking, this does not mean that there might be other useful ways to use social networking software features in your organizations. For example, social networking software could be used to build a staff database to manage expert staff in project-based organizations. If an organization has a matrix organization with people managers, project managers and skill managers, a social software could be a good choice to provide the glue for providing the necessary information and balancing the several interests. Now, let us have a look at the features for the collaborative creation and maintenance of documents. Up to now, this has been the domain of enterprise content management systems. Basically, enterprise content management systems offer a combination of version control and access right management, and this way add significant value by helping to get the unstructured information that emerges in organizations under control. The use of enterprise content management systems is mainstream in today's organizations. Still, the enterprise content management systems products are often considered different from social software products. However, the product classes converge, and there are some products that are considered as both enterprise content management systems and social software systems. What we want to express with this discussion is the following. We think that enterprise content management features are no genuine social software features, but form a crucial part of social software products. And therefore, they are another example for the fact that social software products can and will add value in enterprises, even if they are not used for the support of genuine social processes.